Okay. So, LaTonja, we are here finally with Conversations with Tonja, and this is our first one.
Yes.
And I'm saying first because we don't know what's going to transpire this. We don't know what's going to transpire over the next, couple of hours that we're together and what we're going to do going forward.
Right.
But my first question that I have for you is, why Conversations with Tonja?
Why Conversations with Tonja? Well, first of all, for starters, because conversations with you, for me, has been easy all my life since I've known you. And I've tried so many things, so many times to truly express who I am, what my purpose is, my assignment here on earth, which I totally and completely understand. However, sometimes I think it's hard to convey to other people because you have people on the outside looking in. You have people that know the old Tonja. You have people that have kind of walked along the journey with me to experience transitioning Tonja. And right now where I am in my life, there are minimal people in my life to experience who I am now. So Conversations with Tonja is basically a timeline of my life. It's true, it's authentic, it's real, it's who I am. I didn't wear makeup today because I wanted to be the natural me, the nakedness to be unfolded, to be exposed, to be real and authentic, which is a part of who I've always been anyways. But I think this is a more humbling, laid back, healed Tonja. So,
Awesome. Yes.
yeah.
So now my next question is, why now? Because I know that from our conversations, you've always wanted to share your story in a bigger scale, but you never did. Like, you would share some of it, but not all of it. So why now?
And honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm still a little reserved about some things that I will share. However, I've been seeing this slogan go around now that the time is now. I've procrastinated and I've put off long enough my story. People have gotten bits and pieces of it. I'm sure people say, well, she's so transparent. She's always telling her story. But no, I'm always telling what I want you to have, what I want you to know. It's not necessarily the all in all of Tonja. So for me right now, it's because, so many times we'll think that this is it. I've reached my peak. I've healed. I'm whole. I've been there time and time again. And truthfully, so yeah, I have evolved from a lot and I've healed from a lot. But one thing I learned about healing is it's a continuous process. Not to knock healing per se, but I don't think you ever completely, totally heal. Because life is going to always cause us some scars, some bumps, some bruises that we're going to have to take care of along the way, put a Band-Aid on it, put some ointment on it or whatever. So this particular phase of my life right now it's a different kind of healing for me, a healing that I've never experienced before because it took some real soul work. It took some real getting in the face of Tonja. It took some real listening to the I'm not going to say negative things, but listening to the things that people have said to me or about me that I needed to change and work on to get to this place. And so I just believe that right now is the healing space that God has me in for this moment. I do believe that there's more to come in the future. I don't think that this will be the ultimate, oh, she's healed, she's whole, and, yada, yada, yada. But it's a start to the next level of healing in my life.
Yes. And that's so important because I just personally believe that we heal on levels.
Yeah.
So in the level that you are right now, where that you were before, you healed at that level, and now you're in a new space, and there's some healing that needs to take place on this level, and so forth. And like you said, we're always undoing. We're always evolving into a new person, and so it's always going to be that way. So you talked about this being your timeline, and so my question is, I know the answer, but I want you to say this: how open and ready are you to share your timeline?
I wish I could say that I'm 100% ready, but I'm not. However, sometimes in life you just have to take the step. You just have to take the leap of faith. You just have to forget what people may say about you, what people may think about you. You have to put yourself first. You have to not worry about whose feelings you're going to hurt. Because I've been put in a place to where, I may have hurt some people's feelings, but does anyone ever think about when they hurt my feelings? Because I'm always so strong. I'm always the go-to person. I'm always the person that people look to for answers and advice. And sometimes people just don't think about my mental health. They don't think about where I may be or if I'm in a rough place. I've watched people that I've had conversations with and have talked them off the ledge and talked them through their mental health issues, and I've seen them grow and evolve and become brand new. And somehow I feel like those same people dropped me off when they healed. Mm-hmm. Or when they got it, it was like, I don't need her no more. Or now what you're telling me don't make sense to me. And, it just spirals down. And so I just need people to see the real, true, unadulterated me, the me that is vulnerable, the me that suffers from severe anxiety, the me that deals with childhood trauma on a day-to-day basis, because it never goes away. No matter how strong you are, no matter how much courage you have, it's still a trigger there that you have to come to grips with from time to time. So,
wow. So let's talk about that. You talk about childhood trauma. Tell me about little Tonja and her upbringing, and what she liked, what she didn't like. What did she do for fun? Tell me about little Tonja.
So oftentimes when I think about little Tonja, what I see is this cute little girl with pigtails, matching ribbons and barrettes, cute dresses, baby doll socks, ruffle socks, always matching from head to toe, just almost perfect to a T. I see this little girl that was very outspoken at a very young age, have always had personality, never really been shy of doing anything. Now I'm going to say this, and I know a lot of people are going to probably be surprised by it, but Tonja is shy. So the illusion of that little girl was a portrayal of who she desired to be. She desired to be outspoken. She desired to be the next Oprah Winfrey in front of a camera, doing a talk show, all of that. But deep down inside, she was really a shy little bashful girl. And so you and I talked as we were setting up about the girl within. And so little Tonja is that girl within me, even at age 46. She's still there. She shows up sometimes. She gets intimidated or bashful, and she has to pull herself out of it. As far as childhood memories are concerned, I remember thinking that my family was the Cosby family. I was the only child for 13 years, so it was just my dad, my mom, and myself. To say that I was spoiled would be an understatement. I was spoiled in the sense of I had everything. There was nothing that my parents did not do for me, provide for me. I was not spoiled to the extent of I was selfish and didn't want to share. Like, I was always trying to give away stuff, or, you know, want my friends to come over and spend a night. Like, I had somebody over every weekend, and if I didn't have anybody over, I was over my favorite cousin's house. Shout out Sean and my auntie Ola, you know. So I was just that person. I loved people. I've always loved people. I could remember, you know, sitting at the feet of my grandmother. Rest in peace, Miss Pearline Irvin. But she was so intricate in my life because I believe that she recognized the call of God on my life as a little girl when no one else did. So I always remember drinking coffee with her, sipping from the overflow, sipping out of her saucer, sitting at her feet, watching Little House on the Prairie, and, you know, singing hymns and reading the Bible and playing church even at her house. So she saw something in me at a very tender age, and she was the only person in my life at that time that I could ever recall saying to me, no matter whether it was us getting off the phone, me leaving her house, I love you. Mm-hmm. And those words mean a lot to me. They're not words that I take for granted. They're not words that I use lightly, because I often tell people I love you. Mm-hmm. And when I say it, I mean it. There are some great things about my childhood that I remember. And then there are some terrible things about my childhood that I remember. I don't think it's a secret that I was sexually molested as a little girl, and it was multiple times. The situation was just one for a child to be in. It was a lot for me to have to consider, to weigh options on, to think about other people's lives and people that would be involved in it destroying families, because the person that molested me was a biological family member. I do not care to disclose the person's name, even though I've walked in my freedom with it. I'm good with it. But, you know, it was just very detrimental on so many levels. So I had so much to think about as a little girl. You know, what would happen to us? Where would we go? What would life look like for us? It was just a lot. And to keep that kind of stuff bottled in as a child, with no one to really talk to other than God, because believe it or not, even back then, you know, God and I had a relationship, and the Holy Spirit is what guided me through the process. And so, yeah, so I've had some highs, I've had some lows.
Mm-hmm. So I want to later on talk a little bit more about the abuse.
Okay.
But right now, it sounds like your grandmother instilled some faith in you. And that's a really big part of anyone who knows you knows that you are a person of faith.
Absolutely.
That you love God and you trust God.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that from childhood up until now, your journey in your faith.
Mm-hmm. So in 2009, I was diagnosed with sarcoma cancer. And those that have been on that journey with me know that I call that journey my faith journey. However, my faith journey did start long before 2009. The Bible tells us that faith without works is dead. And all I knew from that scripture is that I had to keep working on my faith no matter what. Because the devil literally has been trying to take me out all my life. I most recently learned maybe a year or so ago that when my mom was pregnant with me, she was in a pretty terrible car accident. And she could have lost me as a result of that accident. And so God began to show me then that, you know, you've had purpose since before you were even formed in your mother's womb. I knew that you would be on this journey. I knew that you would be a woman of faith. I knew that no matter what go on in your life, no matter what happens in your life, you're going to hold on to that mustard seed of faith that people talk about all the time. And I literally believe that that's all it takes, is just a mustard seed of faith to get you to your next step. So I can't imagine not having my life without faith. If I don't have faith, then I'm gonna fail, and I'm gonna lose it. So I don't know anything but my faith. You know, I grew up around some strong Black women. You know, I've seen them jump some hurdles. I pay attention to ancestors. I pay attention to history, you know, and when I look at these amazing Black women, you know, heroes like Harriet Tubman, Oprah Winfrey, my grandmother, my mom, my aunties, you, me, when I look at that, I see myself in all those people because I know that there's greatness in me. I've never doubted what was inside of me, never. But I never understood why it took jumping so many hurdles to get there, to evolve, to become. And I'm still becoming. I'm still jumping those hurdles to get to the end of the road. But I can't imagine my life without faith, because with faith, the word says it's impossible to please God. Mm-hmm. I'm not concerned about pleasing everybody else, but the one person that I am concerned with pleasing is God. Even though I know I'm messed up and I don't always get it right. But what I do know is that my Father, he already knows. He knew, you know, he knew before we were going to sit down and do this interview, have this conversation. He knows all. So there's nothing I can hide from him. There's nothing I can keep from him. He knows my heart. And so I have to do what's pleasing to him. And faith is a big part of that.
Mm-hmm. I know another journey in your faith was being called to ministry. That was a big deal. And so I want you to just share a little bit about that, because I know what it took for you to finally say, you know what, here I am, Lord. Use me, send me. I am whatever you want.
Listen,
you know?
I wish it was that pretty as you put it, but it was just like God ran the brakes up off of me. He, you know, I knew as a child that, you know, I've always been in the church. I've always been active in the church. I've sang in the church choir, ushered. I've done everything. So I always knew that I was called to ministry, but there were so many obstacles and challenges that I was left to deal with, being a woman, first of all, you know, being a female in ministry. At this point in my life, I'm at a very traditional Black church. I mean, they want it their way or no way at all. So I'm saying to myself, like, God, why you gotta beat the brakes off me right now while I'm here, you know? And he said, because this is the place that you need to be in order for it to help you, in order for you to understand what ministry is really gonna feel like. Because a lot of people think ministry feels good. Ministry does not feel good. There are so many highs and lows and ups and downs and crooks and turns in ministry. You know, to one point I told God, I was like, hey, you could have left me where I was. I was preaching the gospel in the club. You know, my girlfriends will tell you, I don't care. You know, what in Matthew it says, let your light shine before others so they may see your good work. So I've always let that light shine. I don't care where I was, at the club, at a cookout, wherever. You know, it was funny because somebody always came to talk to me about Jesus. You know, I'm like, can I just have my moment with my Jack and Ginger right now? But, you know, hey, okay, it is what it is. And so in July, actually 5 years ago in July, and today is today, what's today, the 28th, so around the 30th, 31st, I had to surrender. It wasn't even an option. Like, I had to surrender because I was tired. I was beat down. God was like, what else is it going to take for me to put you through, to take you through the hell that I'm taking you through? Because, see, a lot of times we get a devil so much credit. You know, when we go through something, we love to say, oh, the devil doing this, the devil attacking me. No, God was literally walking me down. I'm talking about in the spirit and physically. And I said, God, I surrender. I'm tired. You know, I was like, listen, I ain't got it all together. You know what? You know I'm still fornicating. You know I'm still clubbing. I'm drinking. I'm partying. But if this your will for my life, you want me to preach, then, you know, I'm talking to God like I'm talking to you. Then you're going to have to accept me as I am now, because I ain't there yet. And the only way I can get there is through you. So I went into ministry, messed up, tore up from the floor up. Do you hear me? I went into the ministry knowing that people was going to say, I know good and knowing well God ain't called her to preach in nobody pulpit. But let me tell you this, we put pressure on ourselves. We make it feel like we have to be perfect in order to do God's divine will and his work. And that's far from the truth. And I learned that even more after accepting the call, after being a licensed minister. I learned that even the more that, God can use whom he wants to. It doesn't matter if it's a child, a dog, a cat, the biggest drug dealer in the world, the young lady that just came down off the pole at the palace. It don't matter.
Right.
If God say he want to use you, guess what? God gonna use you. He'll use you in your mess. And I want to take a quick second. You know my uncle. We know that he has an addiction. And so I've watched my family for years just say, this demon been on his back all his life. And I just wish he'll just get delivered. I wish he'll just give it to God. And guess what? He knows the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. And I don't mean by looking, he knows it in his head. He can literally almost quote you the Bible from Genesis to Revelation because it's in his heart, right? So I tell people all the time, I often use him as an example because although he's not a licensed minister, he's a minister of the gospel. And I tell people all the time, look, my uncle probably sitting up in the crack house ministering to those people as they smoke their dope and do whatever they're doing. That's why God is keeping him, because he's still doing God work, even though he's not doing right by being a drug addict, but he's still doing God work. He's serving. And that says a lot more than some of the people that's sitting in pulpits and in big throne chairs and, these ministries as, want to be popular on Facebook and, want all this clout and all this stuff. That's cool. But what you're doing out in these streets, So I wanted to throw that in because I just want people to understand, if you know that God is tugging on you and he's pulling at you, the best thing to do is just go ahead and surrender and accept the call. He'll handle the rest as it comes along. And even if you mess up, God extends us grace. He gives us, grace and mercy are those two things that he has for us. And unlike people, God will extend you grace. He'll say, when you repent and you mean it from your heart and you say, God, I messed up and I need a do-over, He'll give you that do-over without, I'm going to give you a do-over, but, or I'm going to give you a do-over with the exceptions of, It's so funny how people always want forgiveness and they want grace, but they don't want to extend it. Here's my thing. It doesn't matter what kind of hurt a person did to you or what situation it was that put you in that place of unforgiveness or not wanting to extend grace. Think about when you want that person that you love to extend that grace and forgiveness to you. Sometimes we get in positions and places that we're outside of ourselves. We're outside of our normal. And so we need to be able to be as forgiving. I use this example all the time. We'll forgive our spouse, our significant other, without a shadow of a doubt. I don't care what it is that they've done to us. I can't speak for anybody else. I can speak for me because I know I've done it. I've been in abusive marriages. I've been beaten on. So, I've extended grace to those people. But it's some people that did some stuff to me and I'm like, man, I'm not studying them. I'm done. I'm wiping my hands and God convict me so quickly. He'd be like, oh, that's right. That's how you feel about that? But what about when you did this and I forgave you about that? So the mentality that I had to have, and I want to say, give credit to this from my former pastor, Earl Dixon Jr., because I think he's the person that said this. What if God forgave you the way that you forgive other people? Mm-hmm. So that stuck with me for so long. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, back to the question at hand. So, I just knew that I had to come to a point of surrender because it was nothing else I could do. Mm-hmm. It was either everything was going good in my life or everything was going bad in my life. And I was just tired. And so I called my spiritual father and I was like, I can't take it no more. I'm tired of running. And he was like, I've been waiting on this phone call. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even a surprise to him. Mm-hmm. It was a surprise to me, but it wasn't even a surprise to him. So, when God wants you, he gonna get you one way or the other. I preached a sermon a a couple of Sundays ago, hide and seek. You can run, but you can't hide. You can hide from people, but you can never hide from God. I don't care what corner you get in, what table you go up under. You can go behind this bookshelf. God gonna find you.
Yes.
So when the call is on your life, it's on your life. There's nothing you can do about it. You can even try to quit it. I did that too. You can try to quit it, but it won't go away. Mm-hmm. It won't go away because the word tells us that many are called. Those that are called actually enjoy ministry. They enjoy preaching. They enjoy pastoring the people. But the chosen ones are the ones that go through the most hell, are the ones that are always under the microscope, are the ones that are always being judged the hardest, the most crucial. And those are the ones that really have to fight this race to the end. They have to endure to the end.
Yeah, that's really powerful. So I do know that you are a chosen one, and your life is proof of that. But one of the things that I love about you personally is that your ministry is unique and different. It does not fit in the boxes of what religion has taught us that ministry looks like. And you talk about being in the clubs, and I remember those times in your life where you would tell me, hey, I was in the motorcycle, club, whatever, and, I was ministering to these people, or people always come to you. Yeah. I know also, too, that because your ministry is unique and different, that you've also been scrutinized for that. So let's talk about that. Like, how is it that you're able to be as real and raw, but also you share so much of yourself that people just respond in such a way to where you're probably the most relatable to the people who are called to you, to the people who are attracted to you. And I know it's because they've been through similar conditions or situations, but it's the way that you do ministry I've never seen before.
Ooh, that's a good question, Dee. I'm different. I had to accept that. I had to accept that I'm different. I had to accept that a lot of people aren't gonna like me. So what do you do?
A lot of people that aren't going to like you, and most of those people that don't like you are religious people. Mm-hmm. And I just have to say that. Mm-hmm. I mean, if we're going to be real and have a real conversation, they are the religious people who should be the most accepting. Because I always think about it like this. Jesus sat with sinners.
Absolutely he did.
Which means he was in the places that they were in.
Absolutely he was. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's my why. I ain't trying to do it like you. I don't want to be like you. You do you, and I'm going to do me. I'm not going to criticize the way you do you. Don't criticize the way I do me. Because God called you to a specific ministry assignment. God also called me to a specific ministry assignment. It doesn't look like what everybody else's assignment looked like, nor should any of our assignments look the same, because there's a uniqueness in all of us. I just so happen to be the person that God trusts with the hard stuff. And the reason he can trust me with it is because he knows I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to be real about it. I'm going to be relevant about it. And it's going to be raw. It's going to be uncut, because I just believe with my whole heart that, while I get it, that, I'm not suggesting that everybody get out and talk about their personal business and their personal lives. Of course I'm not, because everybody's not called to do that. However, I am. That's a part of my assignment. But I just believe that if people will just get the real idea and identity of who Jesus is, who what his ministry was like, that he didn't put on a suit or tie and get in a pulpit to preach to people, that he traveled by foot. He did go to uncommon places. My first sermon was about the woman at the well, and Jesus, he said it was a must need go through that I go to this place, that he know he's not welcome, that he, like, what? And for me, that's how it is, when strange things happen to me. Sometimes I don't ask for these things to happen. They just fall in my lap. I don't ask to be put in these situations, but I can't run from what God presents to me because I understand that it's a part of my assignment. I'm not a very prideful person. I've been talked about pretty much all my life, so much, from family members to friends, like, whatever. Everybody got a right to their opinion. I know that I'm not going to be liked by everybody, and that's okay. And I'm okay with that. See, some people say they're okay with stuff like that, and they're really not. They put on strong face, they put on strong sound, they put on strong body, and they get in front of the people, and they scream, and they holler, and they do all this stuff, and then they go home, and they get into their broken place. They get into that shell. They get into that place where they can be vulnerable, that nobody else can see them. Me, on the other hand, I don't care about being vulnerable. I don't care that when this thing started, I was already in tears. It's because the Holy Spirit was already dealing with me on my way here, knowing that we was coming together to have this conversation. So I was already full of the Holy Spirit. I already knew that God was going to be bringing things out of me that I might not have rehearsed in my mind or prepped myself for this interview. It might be some stuff I'm going to say that wasn't planned, but I have to be ready for that. I have to be prepared for that, because it's my life we're talking about, and it's stuff that people can carry a bone and take it and do whatever they want to do with it. Some people, they say, oh, I love how transparent you are, and I love that you be so real, and then they go get with such and such and such and such, and they be like, she always telling her business, doing the most on Facebook, and this, that, and the other. See, all that right there, I don't have time for that, because one thing about me, and I think you notice about me, and most of my real friends should notice about me, like, I'm just going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it 100. It might hurt your feelings. I might tell you some stuff that I know gonna hurt you, and it hurt mine too. But I'm always obedient to what the Spirit tells me to do. And some people can't handle that. I know that I'm tough to deal with sometimes, but if you truly know me, then you know whatever I do or however I'm coming, it's out of a place of love. It's not out of a place of jealousy. It's not out of a place of envy, strife, none of that. It's because I treat people the way that I want people to treat me. Be real with me. Just keep it real. And then you won't be so offended by certain things. See, that's why a lot of people are offended by a lot of things, because they ain't real. They say they're real, but they're not. I'm that I don't have shame in telling people, like, I think I shared this conversation with you. I had a friend who lost a brother, and he came into town. Well, back in the day, we used to kick it. We used to go to the club, and then after we left the club, our after party spot was Magic City then. I think it's the Palace now. So that's what we used to do. We used to turn up, And so he and I were riding, talking to him, trying to comfort him and all this stuff. And he pulls up in the parking lot at the Palace. And this hadn't even been a year ago, I don't think. But he pulls up at the Palace. And like this frog was in my throat. I was like, man, listen. I was like, I don't do this no more, and he was like, man, come on, man. This, just for old time's sake, man, I just lost my brother. You gonna do me like this? And I'm having a tug of war with, and it wasn't even a tug of war with myself. It was a tug of war about what the people gonna think, what the people gonna say. Mm-hmm. And the Holy Spirit had to come down and convict me and say, you know what? You did this before you were called to ministry. You gonna go in there and you gonna bless somebody. And so I said, you know what? Forget it. Let's go. Mask up. Went in there with them or whatever. So I'm sitting at the bar. Not at a table, but I'm sitting at the bar and watching the game. He doing his thing. And so it's this young lady next to me. Oh my God, she was having the time of her life. She reminded me so much of myself. I mean, she was enjoying life. And so it was her birthday, come to find out. She was like, it's my birthday. I'm 34. And I was like, girl, enjoy yourself. Happy birthday. I was like, I remember that used to be me, So we're just talking. And so she grabbed in to hug me and she said, ooh, And I was like, what? I'm like my house stank or something. She was like, no, no disrespect. She was like, but I can't hug you. And I said, why? And she said, because you're a prophet. Bam, right there. There was a door opportunity for me to start ministering to her, to witness to her. And we sat at that bar, we cried, we laughed, and before she left, she gave me a hug. Right after she got through talking to me, one of the strippers had just got off the pole, you know, doing her thing. She came over and she was like, you know, I kind of, you know, was watching y'all conversation, and, you know, she was like, you say you a minister? I was like, yeah, because I did not hide that. I was like, I'm a minister. You know, most ministers probably wouldn't have said that in that environment because, right. You know, one, we ain't supposed to be there. So people say, so the world say, we ain't supposed to be there. But God said the Great Commission was to go ye therefore. Therefore did not have limitations. It didn't say just at church or at the office at work. It said therefore. So I was therefore. So she said, you know, I got to give it to you, sister. She said, ain't many of y'all that'll come in here and do this with us. You know, she said, these white women, they come down here, they bring us sanitary napkins, they bring us lunch, they pray with us, you know, they bring us Bibles. She said, but y'all be the ones that be judging the sister. She said, don't nobody understand why I'm on this pole. Don't nobody know my life. That opened up another conversation for ministry. So I'm comfortable with that. I wish people would just let me be comfortable being who I am. You know, be you, do you. If God called you strictly to the saved, stick with it. But I don't believe that he constantly wants us talking to the saved. He want our job is to reach the unsaved, to pull some of these unsaved people in. Because the people we preaching to at church every Sunday, they supposed to know better. They supposed to be doing better because they saved and they already in their word. But what about the people that's outside these four walls? You know, that's my heart. That's my concern because I was the person outside of the four walls once before. I was the person that got lost in life somewhere and I needed somebody to help pull me back up. I needed somebody to say, girl, you know God, and you know you ain't supposed to be out here doing this, that, and the other. I needed that in my life. And so I want to be to people like who I was at that time. I want to be that person that I longed for and wanted, and I want to help them. And so if nobody else want to do it, guess what? God, here I am. Take me. I'll go. And I'll take all the ridicule. I'll take all the talk, all the backlash. Because guess what? God took all that for me. Jesus took that on the cross for me. He was whipped, bruised for my iniquities and transgressions. So if it was good enough for him, it's good enough for me. And I'll be all right. You know, it's an emotion anyway. You know, you get mad in the moment because somebody said this, that, or other. And guess what? You get over it eventually. You know, if you choose to stay there, that's on you. But, you know, I take the good with the bad. Take a lick and keep on ticking. It is what it is.
I love it. I love it.